Hey everybody, it's Mina. So today I'm going to be showing you all how to make the Lolita maxi dress. First thing I want to do is I want to go over everything that you're going to need to complete this project. Now, the first thing that you should get is 4 to 4.5 yards of fabric cut from a 45-inch or larger width of fabric. Anything smaller than 45 inches width, I think that the dress is not going to be as flowy. So you're going to need 4 to 4.5 yards of 45-inch or higher fabric. The ideal width would be 53 to 57 or even 60 inches. That's the ideal width. So 4 to 4.5 yards of fabric cut from a 45-inch or larger bolt of fabric. You're going to need, of course, a sewing machine. A serger is optional. We're going to be using a serger to just finish your edges. We're going to be working with cotton, so cotton can fray. So I would suggest using a serger to finish your edges. Or if you don't have a serger, go ahead and use the edge foot on your machine and use that. Even though that may take a little bit longer, but you can use the edge stitch foot on your machine to achieve the serge look. All right, so you're going to need a ruler, you're going to need scissors, you're going to need lots and lots and lots of fabric pins because we're going to be doing a lot of pinning. You're going to need the slider, and you're going to need these O-rings. You're going to need two of these. All right, and these two items, the slider and the O-rings, you can find in my Amazon store at minasmusthaves.com. And here's just how you would spell that correctly. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing that I want to do, that I want you all to do, is take your own personal measurements. I want you to start at your high shoulder and measure all the way down to the floor. And I want you to subtract 15 inches from that. And that's where you're gonna come up with the main fabric for your dress. All right, so from your high shoulder all the way down to the floor, whatever that measurement is, minus out 15 inches and cut two pieces of fabric that length. Now for me, that measurement is 45 inches. So I'm going to take, I'm going to cut out two squares, the width of my fabric, and the length is going to be 45. Okay. So what I'm going to be showing you here is I'm going to, before you cut on your fabric, I'm going to demonstrate the measurements and the cutouts that you're going to need to achieve the look of this dress. All right. So here I have the two pieces of paper, which are going to serve as my front and my back. And just to let you know, we're going to be cutting the front and the back the exact same. All right. So again, I've taken my measurement from my high shoulder all the way to the floor. I've subtracted 15 inches, and that's what's going to leave me with the main part of my dress without the ruffles. Okay. And these two pieces of paper is just going to, I'm just going to demonstrate on them as if this was my dress. Okay. Now, the first thing that I want you to do when you get your fabric and you've cut it to your length, go ahead and cut your salvaged edges off. All right. So your salvage edges are normally, they're kind of fray. You just don't need your salvage edges. So go ahead and cut those off. All right. Next thing that I want you to do is fold your fabric in half, and I want you to press a crease in it. All right. Because we're going to be using that crease as a guideline. So go ahead, after you've cut your selvage edges off, go ahead and fold your fabric in half and press a crease down the middle. It doesn't have to go all the way down, maybe about 10 inches, because we're going to be using that crease as a guide. Actually, this crease is going to serve as your center front and center back lines. All right. All right. So the measurements that I talk about in here that I'm going to apply to these two pieces of paper, you're going to carry those measurements over to your fabric. All right. So the first measurement that we're going to take is, I want you to, and one more thing too, go ahead and pin the sides of your fabric, pin both sides of your fabric and the top. And just so you can get a visual of this, this is going to be your side seams. These are going to be your side seam here, side seam there, and this is going to be the top of your dress, and then this is going to be your center front and your center back, because we're going to be cutting the center front and center back the exact same. All right, so the first measurement that you're going to be taking is to start here and measure down 12 inches. All right, measure down 12 inches. And this is going to be our pocket placement. So from here, 12 inches down, I want you to actually, in your fabric, take and put a little snip. Cut a little snip right there on each side. And this is going to be your pocket placement. All right. Now, and then remember, anything that I do on this side, I'm going to do it to this side. All right. So from here down here, 12 inches, it's going to be your pocket placement. From this point, measure 6 inches down. That's going to be your armhole placement. Okay? Armhole. Hands, armhole. All right. Now the next measurement that you need to take is from this point, measure 3 inches over and just put a mark. Again, over on this side, measuring 3 inches and place a mark. Okay, so you see how that looks? And then I'll just go over that one more time. From this point, measure down 12 inches. That's going to be your pocket placement. Do the exact same thing on this side. From this point, measure 6 inches down. That's going to be your armhole placement. Now, your armhole placement is a little optional. Initially, when I made this dress, I did from this point 8 inches down, and that was a lot of side boob. So that's the reason why I went up 2 inches and decided to make it 6 inches. You may want to do 4 inches. I think between 4 and 6 inches is a safe zone, where if you don't want to show a lot of side boob or whichever, because you may want to wear this dress without a bra. All right. So the next mark we're going to make, so after you've made this mark, I want you to go over a 1/2 inch and make another mark. Same thing on the other side. From this mark, a 1/2 inch over, make another mark. All right. Now remember, this crease that you made, this is your center front and your center back. Again, we're going to be making the front and the back the same. They're going to be cut out exactly the same. So since we're looking at the front, we're just going to name this the center front. Now your center front, I want you to start at your center front line, and I want you to measure down 5 inches. And I think that's a safe zone. What the 5 inches is that's going to be your neckline, how low your neckline is going to be. If you want it higher than that, maybe go up 1 inch or 2 or 3 inches, whatever suits you. But if you notice in the picture, the dress that I made, the yellow dress that I made, that's 5 inches. And I think that's a safe zone, because I consider myself a little top heavy. So it's a safe zone. It shows a little bit of cleavage, but not too much. But again, if you want to go higher, if you want to wear a bra with this dress, you may want to, and you're a little top heavy, you may want to go maybe 1 inch or 2 higher. But I think, again, 5 inches is safe. So from your center front, measure 5 inches down, and that's going to be the length of your neckline. All right. So so we're done with marking up your fabric. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to connect the lines. We need to connect everything here. All right. So the first mark that you made up here, what I want you to do is I want you to connect that with your armhole. So for now, it's just a straight line. It's just a straight line. And then I want you to do the exact same thing over here. Straight line. All right. All right. Now for this line right here, what I want you to do is I want you to just come down and then just give it a little curve right there, and that's going to be your cutting line. Just give it a little curve, and then do the exact same thing over here. Just give it a little curve. All right, and that's going to be your cut line. All right. Next thing you want to do is this second mark that you made right here, a 1/2 inch over. I want you to connect all of this. I want you to connect all of this, and that's going to be your neckline. You can use a ruler or you can freehand it. All right. So what I did is I just freehanded it. Make sure you keep that little curve down there. All right. And this is basically, well, this is the template for your dress. Now the next thing you need to do is cut this out. So we're going to be cutting, these are our cutting lines. We're going to cut here to here, and then we're going to come over that 1/2 inch, and we're going to cut here all the way up to here. Leave that 1/2 inch out, and then cut from here, and then that'll be the template for your dress. So let me go ahead and cut this out. Then let's go ahead and cut the neckline out. Remember, go over and stay over that 1/2 inch and cut that neckline out. All right, so here's your dress. This is your dress template. All right, so after you've applied the measurements that I went over to demonstrate on these 2 pieces of paper, apply those exact same measurements to your fabric. And again, your pocket placement, what I want you to do is just go ahead and put a little cut right here on each side, and that's just so we know where we need to place our pockets. Now, as far as our pockets are concerned, go ahead and grab a pocket from any pattern skirt, and you can use it for this, because that's what I'm going to do. All right, so again, here is your template for your dress. Now, once you've applied those measurements and you've cut it out on your fabric, what I want you to do is either edge stitch or with your serger, I want you to serge. I want you to take your front piece and I want you to serge all the way around this whole dress. Serge all the way around. Serge around your side seams, the bottom, serge around your neckline. Do the same thing for your back piece. Serge around your side seams, the bottom, side seam, and your neckline. All right? So, I'm going to go ahead and cut my dress out using the exact same measurements, and then we'll start to sew. All right, so let's go ahead and put our pockets onto our dress. Now, now you should have 2 pieces cut out based on the measurements that we did earlier. You should have gone ahead and serged all sides of your dress. Now I'm working with just 1 piece of my dress. Okay, so remember when you were making your marks and I asked you to make a little slit right here where we measured 12 inches down for your pocket placement? That's where we're going to insert our pockets at. All right, so earlier I told you you can get a pocket from a skirt or another dress that you like, and you can use that, and you'll need to cut 4 pieces, 4 pocket pieces. All right, so when you cut your 4 pocket pieces, you should go ahead and edge stitch or serge all the way around them. All right, now you're probably working with fabric that you can't tell the right side from the wrong side. So your dress, so go ahead and pick a side, and your dress should be facing right sides up because we're going to sew the pocket and the dress. We're going to place those right sides together. All right, so take one of your pocket pieces and we're going to place the pocket right sides facing the dress. So the little slit that you made up here, go ahead and place your pocket up there, starting right there, and go ahead and pin it to your dress. So you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side of your dress. And then you're going to take your other dress piece and you're going to do the exact same thing with that. You're going to sew the pockets on each side, right sides together. Now, once you have your pockets pinned, what I want you to do is go to your sewing machine and sew your pocket on using a 1/4 inch seam. 1/4 inch seam, and then we're going to understitch the pocket. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine now, and I'm going to pin all my pocket pieces on my dress, and I'm going to sew using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've sewn my pockets onto the side of my dress. Now, the reason why we did a 1/4 inch seam instead of a 5/8 or 1/2 of an inch is because we want these to be truly hidden pockets on the side of our dress. So that's the reason why we decreased the seam allowance, so a 1/4 of an inch. So I went ahead and I sewed all the pockets onto my sides of my dress. And now what you want to do is you want to open the seam up and you want to press them flat. Press these seams flat. We want to set this up for an understitch. All right. And then so what the understitch will do it'll actually keep the pocket inside. It'll have the pocket to stay inside. All right, so now that our pocket seams are sewn flat, what I want you to do is go and understitch. Now you're going to stitch, you're going to start up here and you're going to sew towards the pocket. You're going to sew on the side of the seam that's toward the pocket, and you're going to sew about 1/8 of an inch away from this seam on this side. So if you're facing your dress, you're going to be sewing on the right seam right here. So go to your sewing machine and just sew about 1/8 of an inch all the way down, and that's understitching your pocket seams. All right, so now that you've sewn all 4 pockets onto your dress, it's time to start sewing the dress together. All right, so we're going to be sewing the dress right sides together. So here's one piece of my dress with the pocket sewn on, and it is facing right sides up. And the reason why I'm only showing half of the dress is because it's such a large piece of dress. This is about, I believe, about 60 inches long. So I'm only showing you half, or the section that I'm working with. All right, so here's the dress, one of my dress pieces. It's facing right sides up, and I need to place the other piece right sides together. So I'm going to take that piece and line it up, line my pocket pieces up. Lining everything up, right sides together. And then I'm going to pin. So you're going to be sewing from your underarm seam all the way down to the top of your pocket. And I want you to sew maybe about 1/2 inch into your pocket, and then you're going to pivot, and then you're going to sew all the way around your pocket, all the way around up. You're going to sew up about 1 inch. You're going to pivot, sew across, and then you're going to sew down. So you're going to be sewing the sides of your dress. All right. So again, place your dress right sides together. Again, one of my dress pieces, they're facing right sides up. The other piece, I want to place it on top of one another, matching up my pockets, matching up my side seams, my underarm seams, and everything. And go ahead and pin from your underarm all the way down around your pocket to here, then all the way down to the bottom of your dress. And again, start here using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Start from your underarm, So all the way down to the top of your pocket. So past it about an inch, then pivot, come over, and sew down all the way around here. So up past the end of your pocket about an inch, pivot, come over, and sew down the rest of the side seam of your dress. And I want you to do the exact same thing to the other side. All right, so now that you have your dress, your two dress pieces sewn together from the underarm all the way down around your pockets and down to the hem, we're going to work on the neckline next. All right, so what I want you to do is take your neckline and I want you to fold it under about a half of an inch all the way over, all the way around, and press. Give it a press. Do that all the way around, half of an inch down, press. And then once you're done, and what I forgot to mention is your dress is facing wrong sides up. So have your dress facing wrong sides up, turn it over about a half of an inch, then press. And then after you've done with the front, go ahead and sew it, because what we're doing is we're creating a casing. So after you've done that, go to your back piece and do the exact same thing. Fold it under a half of an inch, press all the way around, then sew it, creating the casing. All right, so now that you've created your casing and your neckline for your front and your back pieces, what I did is I went ahead and I just took a scrap piece of fabric and I cut it about 32 inches long, 2-inch width, and I just folded it in half and pressed it, and then I just sewed a seam all the way down just to keep it together. Go ahead and attach. So we're going to use this string to gather our neckline for our front and our back. All right, so either use a safety pin, attach it to the end of one piece, and we're going to feed it through this little casing that you created for your front and back pieces. All right, so you can use a safety pin or you can use a bodkin. I just prefer to use a safety pin. It's just a little bit more secure for me and a little quicker for me to use a safety pin. So I'm just feeding this all the way over to the other end. And then once you get so far, what you should do is take a pin. Well, actually not right now, but once you gather, you're gathering, we just want to make sure this end piece doesn't. So when this end piece gets close to this end, just take a little pin and put it through there to stop it. All right, so just gather your whole neckline, and we're going to do this for the front and the back pieces. Okay, just gather all the way across. All right, so I've gathered my whole neckline, right? And I'm just going to distribute the gathers evenly. Just going to distribute them evenly. And see, just distribute them evenly. Make sure they're not too bunched up together. They're just comfortably gathered. All right. And I'm going to say the width of your gathers, it should probably be about 13, 14 inches across. Okay, so we can just measure that. 13 to 14 inches, or maybe even less. All right, so what you want to do now at this point, so I'm just still distributing my gathers. Okay, so what you want to do at this point is, after it's gathered like this, do the exact same thing to the other side of your dress, and then leave this flat about, I'm gonna say about an inch measure out about an inch. Okay, and place a pin right there. We don't want that inch part gathered. Leave that about an inch flat right in there. Do the same thing to the other side. Leave it about an inch without gathers. All right. And then go over to your sewing machine and just do a straight stitch right there. That's where we want to stop our gathers at. Just do a straight stitch right there from the edge over to about an inch. Go ahead and just do a straight stitch down here and on this side. Now do the exact same thing to your other side, your front and your back pieces. And then after you stitch that down, what you can do is you can actually just go ahead and cut off the string that we used to gather, and do that to both sides. Okay. All right, so let's work on your straps. Now, whatever the width of your fabric is, if you get it off of a 60-inch bolt, then I want you to cut a 2 by 60 strap. All right, so that's what I have here. You may not need it. Your strap is not going to be this long, but you just want to start off with this length. So again, I cut it. So my strip right here is about 60 inches long, and I cut it with a 2-inch width. All right, so how are we going to make our straps? I'm just going to take the strap, and I'm just going to fold it in half, and then I'm just going to press it. And I'm going to do that all the way to the full length of the strip that I have. All right, now since I've got it, I folded it over and I've pressed it. Next thing I'm going to do is open it up, and I'm going to take one side, fold it in towards that crease, and then press all the way down. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. If you can see, I'm going to open it up, take the raw edge, fold it in towards the middle crease, and then just press. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. Take this raw edge, fold it in, and then press it. All right, so after I folded my 2 raw edges in towards the middle, now I'm going to take and just fold it over like that, and just give it a good press. So at this point, you need to press this really, really good, because we're not going to sew it down just yet. We're going to be maneuvering this strip without the edges sewn. So you need to press this really, really good. All right, so press it all the way down, and this is what you should have. It should open up like this, but press it really, really good. All right, so now that we formed our strap, okay, what I want you to do is from the top of your strap, I want you to measure down 2 inches, and I just put like a little mark right there. All right, now's the time to determine which is going to be your front and which is going to be your back. It really doesn't matter at this point. So pick your back. I've already done that. Here is, if you can see, here is my back and my front. You see they're both gathered, and here's the underarm right here. We're getting ready to work in the underarm area. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to encase our strap with our underarm. We're going to encase the underarm within the strap. Okay, so the strap, that 2 inch mark, this 2 inches needs to extend from the back. It needs to extend above the back. So you're going to take your back piece, place it right in between your strap, right in the middle, right at that 2 inch mark. And again, you're going to have that 2 inches extending. And then you're just going to place a pin. And again, we're going to encase the whole underarm within the strap. All right. So we're going to take the underarm, the raw edges, we're going to place it on the center fold line of our strap, and we're going to pin and do that all the way around. It's probably hard to see this because it's all one color. But I'm taking the raw edge of my underarm seam and I'm just matching it up with the center. I'm just placing it right there on the center of my strap because we're encasing the underarm seam all the way around to the front. Okay, almost there. Okay, all right, so here's what you have. So now we're going to take the other folded edge of the strap and we're just going to fold it over. And then I'm going to take the pin out and then I'm just going to pin it. So we're encasing that underarm. So I do it like this because it's easy for me. I want everything to be even. I don't want the underarm coming loose. So this is just how I do it. All right. So now I'm just encasing the underarm, pin. I'm holding it so it doesn't move, the underarm. Okay, just folding it over, pin, fold over, and pin. And then make sure you get your front piece in there really good and pin. So now what we have is you have this long strap right here. So what I want you to do is go over to your sewing machine and I want you to, we see our strap, I want you to fold that over and I want you to sew here all the way down, all the way down, all the way down till we get to our underarm. You're going to sew on that fold, encasing that underarm and all the way back to the back. Okay? All right, so here's how everything looks once the strap is sewn onto the underarm. The underarm is encased within the strap. This is how everything looks. This is your 2-inch extension from the back, and this is how everything looks. Okay, and then here's your strap. So your strap is approximately, I measured out to be 36 to 38 inches long. Just all depends. But we're going to put an adjustable, we're going to put our O-rings on in our adjustable strap. We're going to make this into an adjustable strap. So make your straps about, you can cut them to about, I want to say maybe 32, between 32 and 38. You can try it out. You can put the strap on, the adjustable strap on. If that doesn't work, if it's too long, you can cut it shorter and just kind of go from there. All right, so where we're going to start at is from, I'm just going to clear some of this little extra thread out of the way. We're going to start at the back where the 2-inch extension is. So go ahead and grab your O-ring and go ahead and put it through there. And then take the raw edge and just fold it under about 1/4 of an inch. And then we're just going to fold it to the back like this. And we're just going to, where you made your casing line, that's where we're going to lay the fold. And we're just going to follow that line, and you're just going to stitch that down. So go over to your machine and stitch that down. All right, so after you've put your O-ring on, this is how it should look. This is the back of your dress. Okay. Now let's start with the front, the long part of the strap. Okay. So the right side should be facing up towards you, and go ahead and grab your slider, and you are going to take the raw edge and you're going to put it through one of these little hoops here, and then you're going to take it and feed it through the other one like so. Okay, now just push that up a little bit. Now take your back loop, and you're going to feed your strap top down into the loop. So top down into the loop. Okay, bring it up. And I think, let's see, we're going to do it about 5 inches. Yep, about 5 inches up. So pull this. We're going to take about 5 inches of this piece up to here. So I'm going to measure about 5 inches of this strap, which that's about right. All right. 5 inches. Okay, now turn it over like this, and you need to get this part right here through that little single bar right there. So what I have to do that is I have like a little screwdriver, and I'm just going to place that on top of that, and I'm just going to kind of push it through so I can get to the other side, and then just pull it through. Pull that through. Okay. So now what you want to do is you want to take this raw edge and you want to fold it under about 1/4 of an inch. And then this back loop right here, just the single loop, you want to place it down like so. And then I'm just showing you, I'm not going to keep the pin in here, but I'm just to show you, it should, this little piece right here should only be on the back part. So fold it under about 1/4 of an inch, just this back piece, pin it to there, then go over to your sewing machine and just sew that down. Okay, so this is how the back of your dress should look thus far. Okay, so we are almost done. Almost. Next thing that we need to do is we need to put the ruffles onto the dress. We actually need to cut the fabric needed for the ruffles. Now, to achieve the ruffle look that you see at the bottom of the dress, we need double that circumference. So the ruffles are going to be 15 inches long. So let me find my marking. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to measure 15 inches down. So we're going to do 4 strips of 15-inch wide strips. Okay, and we need 4 of these, and the width needs to be the exact width of the fabric that you bought. So this is what I'm doing. All right, and then we are going to cut. So again, to achieve that ruffled look, we need 4 of these. So I'm going to cut 4 of these, and remember, go ahead and cut that selvage edge off. We don't need that. All right, cut the other selvage edge off. All right. So again, we need 4 of these. So this is what takes up the bulk of our fabric, of the 4 yards that we need. Okay. And your ruffles, they don't have to be 15 inches long. It all depends on what the length, the final length you want your dress to be. So if you've measured from your high shoulder down to the floor and you subtracted 15 inches, if that's too long for you, then make your ruffles shorter than that. But remember to maybe add on an extra ½ inch, because we are going to need to hem this whole ruffle. All right, so that's just for me. I'm going to make my ruffles 15 inches long. So again, you're going to cut, so whatever length you make them, you are going to need to cut 4 strips of whatever length, and then the width, of course, is going to be the width of your fabric. So if you bought it from a 60-inch bolt of fabric, then it's going to be 60. Each one of these strips are going to measure 60 inches. All right. So after we cut these out, what you're going to do is you're going to join them all together. I think I may need my scissors to be sharpened. All right, cut the selvage edges off. And the next thing that, once I finish cutting off 4 strips, we're just going to join all of these together, right sides together, sew them all together to form a one big tube. Then we are going to take it over to our sewing machine and then gather the whole long strip. All right. All right, so I went ahead and I joined all those pieces together in one big tube, and I went to my sewing machine, and the longest stitch length on my machine is a 6, so I did a basting stitch or a gathering stitch all the way around this whole tube, and then I took the bobbin thread, and now I'm just gathering all the way around. And then after I finish with all these gathers and distributing all these gathers, I'll go ahead and I'll attach it to the bottom of my dress. I probably should have hemmed before, but I didn't. So I can either hem afterwards, because I may need to shorten it, or I may not. All right, so I'll go ahead and gather this, and once it's gathered, I'll go ahead and I'll attach it to the bottom of my skirt.